Welcome to the All Sorts podcast.
Yeah.
Where we take these fascinating topics and we sort of sort them out for you.
We sort them out.
So today we are going deep on a figure who has inspired, I think, countless books and movies and even a few slot machines.
For sure.
Cleopatra.
Yeah.
But get ready for some surprises.
Yeah.
Because we're going way beyond the usual, Egyptian queen story that we all think we know.
That's right.
So what kind of sources are we diving into today to get at?
Yeah, so we've got
real story.
We've got some really great articles from Britannica, World History Encyclopedia, and Smithsonian Magazine.
Nice.
All offering kind of different perspectives on her life and reign.
Okay.
And one article even suggests that maybe, just maybe, the dramatic suicide by snake story isn't quite what it seems.
Okay, now that's got my attention.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin to unpack this? What's the first myth that we need to bust about Cleopatra?
Well, let's start with the most basic assumption. Cleopatra was Egyptian.
Okay.
She wasn't.
Wait, seriously, but she was the pharaoh of Egypt.
She was, but her family was not ethnically Egyptian.
Oh.
She was actually of Macedonian Greek descent.
Yeah.
Part of the Ptolemaic dynasty that ruled Egypt for centuries.
Oh, wow.
After Alexander the Great's conquests.
So imagine this. You're in ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
Ruled by a dynasty descended from the Greeks.
Right.
It just makes you wonder how that cultural mix played out.
Absolutely. And Cleopatra, unlike many of her predecessors, embraced this mix.
Okay.
We know she learned Egyptian.
Wow.
Which was a move that helped her connect with her subjects.
Okay.
In a way that previous Ptolemaic rulers hadn't.
That's a pretty savvy move considering the political climate of the time. I mean, wasn't Egypt basically under Rome's thumb by then?
Yeah, it was a very complex situation.
Okay.
Rome's influence was definitely growing.
Yeah.
And Cleopatra had to walk a tightrope to maintain some semblance of independence for Egypt.
And that's where her famous alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony come in. Right.
Exactly. But it's crucial to understand that these relationships weren't just romantic flings.
Right.
They were very calculated political maneuvers.
Yeah.
For example, aligning with Caesar helped Cleopatra regain her throne after being ousted by her brother.
So she was playing the game of power.
Oh, yeah.
Using every tool at her disposal to protect Egypt's interests.
She was a brilliant strategist.
Wow.
And her diplomatic skills went far beyond just charming, powerful men.
Okay.
She was known to be fluent in at least 7 languages.
What?
Can you even imagine the kinds of negotiations she could handle?
That's incredible. I mean, to be fluent in one language is hard enough.
Right.
Let alone 7.
I know.
Talk about a superpower.
Right. And it highlights another really crucial aspect of Cleopatra.
Okay.
Her intelligence.
Okay.
Sources describe her as a very shrewd ruler who understood not just military strategy, but also the power of knowledge and culture.
Okay. But all this strategizing and diplomacy eventually led to war with Rome, right?
It did. And that's where the story takes a tragic turn.
Okay.
But even in defeat,
Cleopatra's
actions raise fascinating questions about her motives and her ultimate fate.
I am hooked. Let's dive into that next.
For sure. So you mentioned earlier that Cleopatra's story takes a tragic turn.
Yeah.
That's the part most people know.
Right.
The defeat at Actium, the supposed suicide by Asp.
Right. One of the articles that we have suggests that the whole snakebite thing might be Roman propaganda.
Right.
Designed to discredit Cleopatra and solidify Octavian's power.
It's a fascinating theory.
Yeah.
Think about it. The Asp, the sealed tomb,
Yeah.
no witnesses.
Yeah.
It's all very convenient for Octavian, who needed to portray Cleopatra as this desperate and defeated figure to justify his conquest of Egypt.
So what really happens? Was she murdered?
The sources are pretty murky.
Yeah.
We don't have definitive proof either way.
Okay.
But if we apply a little critical thinking,
Yeah.
some interesting possibilities emerge.
I'm all ears. What kind of possibilities?
For starters, let's look at the political context.
Okay.
Octavian was in a very precarious position.
Yeah.
He needed to eliminate his rivals and consolidate his power. And Cleopatra, with her charisma, her alliances, and her claim to be the rightful ruler of Egypt, was a huge threat.
So taking her out would send a clear message.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Rome.
Exactly. And a dramatic suicide, orchestrated or otherwise, would fit perfectly into the Roman narrative of triumph over a treacherous foreign queen.
Oh, wow.
You know, it plays right into that trope
Yeah.
of the dangerous woman who must be silenced.
Makes you wonder how many other historical narratives have been shaped by similar motives.
Absolutely. That's why it's so important to approach history with a critical eye, to question the accepted versions of events.
Right.
And to look for the hidden agendas and power dynamics that might be lurking beneath the surface.
Okay, so if we're questioning the suicide story, what other aspects of Cleopatra's life deserve a second look? What else has been distorted or misrepresented over time?
Well, for centuries, she's been depicted as this seductive temptress.
Right.
This woman who used her beauty and charm to manipulate powerful men.
Mm-hmm.
But that image is largely based on Roman accounts written by men
Right.
who had every reason to portray her as a threat to their authority.
So it's basically the same playbook they used to discredit other powerful women throughout history.
Yeah.
Reduce them to their physical attributes
Right.
and relationships with men.
Precisely. They couldn't fathom a woman being both beautiful and brilliant,
Yeah.
powerful and ambitious.
Right.
So they created a narrative that fit their preconceived notions.
And that narrative has stuck, hasn't it? Even today, she's often portrayed as this tragic figure, a victim of her own passions and ambitions.
Right. But what if we challenge that narrative?
Yeah.
What if we look beyond the stereotypes and see Cleopatra for who she really was, a brilliant strategist, a
Yeah.
skilled diplomat,
Yeah.
and a ruler who fought tooth and nail to protect her kingdom and her people?
It's almost like we need to deprogram ourselves from centuries of biased storytelling and reimagine Cleopatra as a complex and multifaceted human being.
Exactly. And that's where the real challenge lies, to piece together the fragments of evidence we have.
Right.
To separate fact from fiction,
Yeah.
and to create a more nuanced and accurate portrayal of this remarkable woman.
It sounds like a daunting task,
It is.
but I have a feeling this deep dive is just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
What other aspects of Cleopatra's life could we explore?
Well, one area that often gets overlooked
Okay.
is her role as a patron of the arts and sciences.
Oh, wait.
Alexandria, under her rule, was a renowned center of learning and innovation with a vast library
Wow.
and scholars from all over the ancient world.
So she wasn't just a political mastermind. She was also a champion of knowledge and culture.
Exactly, and this speaks to a side of her that rarely gets mentioned.
Okay.
Her intellectual curiosity, her desire to foster learning, and her understanding that knowledge is power.
Now, that's an aspect of Cleopatra I would love to know more about.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder what kind of conversation she might have had with the scholars and artists of her time.
It's fascinating to contemplate, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it reminds us that history isn't just about battles and political maneuvering.
Right.
It's about the lives of individuals,
Yeah.
their passions, their struggles, and their contributions to the world.
And in Cleopatra's case, those contributions were significant even if they've been obscured by centuries of misrepresentation.
Exactly, and that's why this deep dive is so important.
Yeah.
It's about reclaiming her story, restoring her agency, and recognizing her as one of the most remarkable figures in ancient history.
Well said. It sounds like we're just getting started on this journey of rediscovering Cleopatra.
I think so.
What else can we uncover about this fascinating woman?
Yeah, it feels like we've really been uncovering a hidden history here. One where Cleopatra's intellect and ambition are finally taking center stage.
It's about time.
We've focused so much on her relationships with Roman leaders, but what about her relationship with her own people?
Right.
Her image actually appears on ancient Egyptian coins, something no other Ptolemaic queen achieved.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. She wasn't just playing the role of pharaoh for the Romans, like she was genuinely connected to her Egyptian subjects.
Exactly. And this ties back to what we were discussing earlier about her embracing the Egyptian language and culture.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a political tactic. It seems like genuine respect.
So are you saying that Cleopatra might be a better example of cultural exchange and integration than we usually give her credit for?
I think it's worth considering. We tend to view history through the lens of winners and losers.
Yeah.
But what if Cleopatra's story represents a different kind of legacy, one that's more about blending cultures and finding common ground?
That's a really intriguing perspective.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how different history might have unfolded if things had gone her way.
It does, doesn't it? If Cleopatra and Mark Antony had succeeded in their ambitions, we might be talking about a very different Roman Empire.
Wow.
Perhaps one with a much more prominent Egyptian influence?
That's mind-blowing. It just goes to show how much we still have to learn and reevaluate when it comes to ancient history.
Absolutely.
Um,
And how important it is to seek out diverse perspectives.
right.
For centuries, Cleopatra's story has been told through the lens of Roman historians and writers who had their own biases and agendas.
So how do we break free from those biases? Where do we go from here?
We keep digging, keep questioning, and keep looking for those hidden voices and untold stories.
Yeah.
There's still so much to discover about Cleopatra, her world, and the legacy she left behind.
Well, you've certainly given me a whole new perspective on Cleopatra. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of her story.
And that's the beauty of history. It's a never-ending journey of discovery.
Yeah.
There's always something new to learn, some fresh insight, to uncover some long-held belief, to challenge.
This deep dive has definitely challenged some of my assumptions about Cleopatra.
Good.
She's a far more complex and intriguing figure than I ever realized.
And that's exactly what we hope to achieve with the All Sorts podcast.
Yeah.
To spark your curiosity, to make you question the world around you, and to inspire you to keep learning and exploring.
So to all our amazing listeners out there, if you're as fascinated by Cleopatra's story as we are, we encourage you to dive deeper into the sources that we mentioned. And if this deep dive has ignited your curiosity, check out the All Sorts podcast archives. We've got a treasure trove of episodes waiting to be discovered, covering everything from the mysteries of the universe to the complexities of the human mind.
And don't forget to connect with us on social media. You can find us on X, Instagram, and Threads. We love hearing from our listeners and sharing our passion for knowledge.
So hit that subscribe button, share this episode with your friends, and join us on this incredible journey of exploring the world of all things fascinating and unexpected.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay awesome.
From all of us here at the All Sorts podcast, happy exploring.